Hi everyone, welcome to episode 133 of the Arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been knitting and spinning on for the past week. And for this episode, I think it's the past 3 weeks because it's been a couple weeks since I've made a video because I have been busy, had things on the weekend, and I always film on the weekend, mostly Saturdays. Sometimes it's Sundays if I have something on Saturdays, but I've just been busy and so I haven't had the chance to film. But I'm here today. Today is November 1st. Happy November. We're finally in the end part, real close to the end part of the year, I feel like. And it's exciting, but also kind of like, there's things I want to get done before the end of the year, so it feels like crunch time as well. But I'm happy to be back recording, and I finally have some updates. I feel like the past few episodes I've had slightly less interesting things to share. I think still interesting, but it was mostly just like progress updates and things kind of just look a little bigger, like nothing super crazy. But this time, because it's been a few weeks, I have some updates. I have some finished objects. I started a new project. I have a new spin on my wheel and one quick acquisition. And yeah, I've been working on a lot of things. Things look a little more different. The projects look a little different from the last time you saw them because I made some good progress, and so I'm excited to share them with you all. Let's first start, as how I always do, with what I am wearing. This is a sweater you probably have not seen in a very long time. It is a sweater I finished at the end of 2023, and I felt like it was appropriate for today's video because, one, today I just, for some reason, the weather is like really cool now. It's cold. It is cold. I'm like actually cold in here. And so I was like, I need a bulkier sweater to wear. But also I was like, it feels like the holiday season now. Halloween was just yesterday and it's like cool. It's kind of rainy, but like, I don't know. I'm in this like, I feel like the vibes are speaking holiday to me. So I wanted to bring out this red sweater. I feel like this is kind of like my Christmas sweater. It's very red, and probably the most red, most bright colored sweater I have. But I haven't worn it in a while, and I thought this would be great because I'm feeling kind of very holiday-ish vibes. But also, I was like, this is great because I also made this because, by the way, pattern is the Fika Pullover by Sari Nordlund. And the yarn I use is Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the colorway Pomegranate. And I made size 1. And I use US 6 needles, 4.0 millimeter needles to make this. And, okay, also final measurements for this. I measured it today, just in case it changed since the last time. I also don't know if I have the notes from last time. But 34 inches in circumference, and so that's about 4 inches of positive ease. And that is pretty close to the pattern final measurements. I think that it was 33.75 inches and mine's 34, so that's very close. Anyway, the reason, if you did not watch me back in, 2023 or close to then, and if you haven't seen the sweater, the reason why I made this was because I watch Only Murders in the Building. It's a show series on Hulu, and one of the main characters, the character name is Mabel, and she's played by Selena Gomez. And there's one episode whenever in 2023, whatever season that was, maybe it was season 3, she wore a sweater that it was a red knitted cabled sweater. And I remember when I watched that episode, I immediately was like, that is the Fika Pullover by Sari Nordlund. Like, it looks so close to it. And so then, since then, I was like, I want to make that sweater in a very similar color. Hers, I think, was a bit more orangey red, but I feel like that wasn't quite the color that I would want to wear. And so I did have kind of a more red, I would say, but I still love it. I haven't worn it in a really long time, but putting it on today felt really good, and it's reminded me how much I really like it. So yeah, and so all that to say, also because good timing on wearing this, because Only Murders in the Building season 5 just ended. The last episode of the season just came out this past Tuesday, I think, I finished watching it. If you're also watching it, let me know in the comments what you thought. I think they renewed for season 6. There was if you haven't watched it before, at the end of the season, there's always like a new murder that happens, and that's going to be what they solve in the next season. And so I was happy to see. I was worried. I was like, is this going to be the last season? But I'm happy to see. I think they're going to have a season 6, and yeah, exciting. I like the season. The only thing is, I feel like as the seasons go, Mabel's character wears less and less knitwear. I think she wore one cardigan this season that did look kind of knit-ish, but I still like the show. I think it's fun, and I like to figure out, try to find out who's the one that did it. So anyway, but yeah, I was like, I'll wear this, serving multiple purposes. It's because I'm feeling very holiday vibes, and also because Only Murders in the Building just finished season 5, and I guess we'll move right into my finished objects because this is very on theme right now. I finished my Mabel sweater. Yes, same Mabel that we're talking about in Only Murders in the Building. The Mabel sweater by Hoodie Locatelli. Yarn I use for this is Explore Knits Denali sock in the colorway Leaf Peeping. And I knit size 2. I use US 3 needles, 3.25 millimeter needles to knit this. And again, if you don't watch the show, maybe none of this is really going to make any sense, but in season 1 of this show, again, the Mabel's character, Selena Gomez's character, wears a sweater that looks, a knit sweater that Hoodie Locatelli made a pattern to, that she was inspired by that sweater to make a pattern that looks very similar to like the texture of it. Of course, the color was a little more of the yellowy side, and I decided to go a bit more of an orangey color, but still kind of in a very similar color theme. And I finished it. I'm going to hold it up now. I finished it. It is a little wrinkled because it was in my suitcase. I traveled. This was part of one of my travel knits, and so it's a little wrinkly, but I do have my stitch marker from where I was. I knew I wanted to finish it on the trip that I went on because this is all I had left for the body. The sleeves were all done, the neckband was done, and so I just had this much of the body, and I was like, I can do that. I want to get something off of my needles because I did have another cast on that I will talk about later. More things I want to finish and start and finish before the end of this year, and so this was, I think, the closest thing I had to being done, and so I wanted to just finish this up, and also to have the sweater because it's so cute. Here it is. I think that it's looking kind of skinny, like this way, and I think that it is just the knit texture because I did do a gauge swatch for this one because the stitch pattern on this is, Hoodie Locatelli in the pattern calls it a waffle stitch, but I've never done something like this before, but I think how she also described it, I don't usually read the paragraphs of stuff in patterns, like before the instructions, but I did read, I think somewhere in there when it talks about the stitch pattern, that it is a combination of like a normal 1x1 rib and a fisherman's rib. So there is some, knit one below or purl one below type of stitches, and the rest is just a 1x1 rib, but it does create this really nice texture. I wasn't sure how this texture would look all knit up because I've never made it before and I was suspicious of it, but I did do a gauge swatch. My gauge swatch grew quite a bit because of just how the stitches work. It is kind of like a rib, but it's also kind of loose. Like it's not a really tight knit. And I use a fingering weight yarn, and so it is, if you kind of open it up, it is a little bit wholly kind of see-through, but I think that once kind of everything blocks out and kind of settles in place, that everything will feel pretty nice. I think it's still going to be a pretty drapey, slightly loose-ish kind of fabric, but I think it's going to work really nicely for this. So I am expecting for this to grow a bit after washing and blocking. I have not washed and blocked this. I thought I would before the podcast, but I just couldn't get myself to do it. But it is fully done, knitted. It's all knitted. Knitting's done. I woven all the ends and I cut all of the ends, and so it really just needs a wash and block. But I am really excited for this one. I'm very happy with it. I was able to finish it within the deadline for the Hoodie Fall Knit Along, which is really nice. I just have to update my project page, take pictures, and do all of that. But I do need to wash and block it. Maybe today. Telling myself maybe today. Probably this weekend, though. I probably should do it. But yeah, so now I will have two sweaters that were inspired by Only Murders in the Building, and so I think that that's kind of fun. I do kind of like a themed kind of knitwear thing. I think that that's kind of fun. So, and it doesn't usually, I don't usually have ideas for that, or things that I like don't usually, what am I trying to say? It doesn't come up often. Those opportunities don't come up often for me, and so when I do, I think it's fun, and it makes me really happy, even more happy about the finished object than just it by itself, if that makes sense. So yeah, I finished my Mabel sweater, and then I do have another finished object as well, but also not washed and blocked, but I did wear them already to test them out. I finished my October socks, right? Was that last month? Yes, I finished my October socks. These are the Comfort Core socks by Summer Lee. This is version A of the socks in the pattern. And the yarn is, oh my gosh, it's Explore Knits again. I feel like almost, well, no, these, I think the Mabel sweater and this is the only Explore Knits yarn. No, I have another one, but anyway, Explore Knits again, but this time Denali sock. No, the other one is Denali sock too. Different colorway though. Apricity and Liminal. Main color, Apricity, is the variegated. And I knit size small, and I use US 1 needles, 2.25 millimeter needles to knit this. That's my default sock knitting needles, and the shape of them look kind of weird like this because it is different knit stitches across the whole thing. So the leg part is a 2x2 rib. I'm just gonna put my hand here so it doesn't look as weird. It's a 2x2 rib, and it's very stretchy. So that's why it looks really skinny up there. And then there's the cute, like, 2 stripes here. It is a heel flap and gusset. And then some seed stitch across the top of the foot. So I'm going to put my hand in here so you can see. Seed stitch on the top of the foot here. Normal stockinette on the bottom. And then there is a slip stitch. Same stitch as you do for the heel. But you do it here, and it's there's like some socks, like store-bought socks, that do have this kind of like more elastic, kind of like tighter section around like the arch of your foot. So I think that's the placement of it. Placement of it is different for everyone, so I did have to kind of like figure that out with my first sock, and then I just copied it for the second one. I followed the instructions. The only change I made was actually this section here. I think I made it like 1/2 inch shorter than what the pattern says, just because I feel like my foot, I don't know, it just seemed like it would be too large of a section to go on my foot. Although after I finished both socks and like wore them for a bit, I was like, oh, I could have, made it that extra bit longer, but I do like the placement of where I have mine right now. It does seem pretty centered on the arch of my foot, so I'm happy with it. They wore really nicely, kept my feet pretty warm, and yeah, I need to wash and block them, but I really like how they came out. I like the color choices I have for these. It was a sock set. It came as a sock set, so I knew that the colors would look cute together, but just seeing it kind of in a sock like this is really nice, and I would make this pattern again. I do think it involved a little bit more thinking and like counting, just because I needed to know when to start, doing this middle section and then continuing. But I could always make it without it too. Like, that's definitely also an option, but I do think it adds a little something extra to the sock and make it a little more special than some of my other socks. So I would make this again. I would make it with this, slip stitched, every other stitch slipped section in the middle of the foot, just because it just adds a little something special to it. And yeah, it was pretty enjoyable. This was also one of my travel knits. I feel like having a sock as a travel knit's always really nice. I did knit on this I finished one side, and so I just had one more to go, and so I was like, I definitely want to finish this on my trip, which I'll talk about later. But this was part of my airplane knitting, and so that was really nice compact project to bring on the plane. And yeah, so those are my 2 finished objects, and then let's move on to my whips. I'm so excited that I have more projects to talk about this time versus the last time. Of course, these are projects you've seen, but I've made big progress on these, so I'm excited for you to see them. Okay, let's start with this one. I think I spent the most time on my trip working on this. This is my Redmond hoodie by Hanna Maciejewska. Okay, let me, before I hold it up, yarn is Woolfolk Tynd color 00, which is just white, and I am knitting size 1 using US 3 needles, 3.25 millimeter needles to knit this. Okay, I'm gonna hold up what I have. As you can tell, it now has a hood. The hoodie finally has a hood. But before we talk about the hood, let's talk about where I was the last time you've seen this. So the last time I did not have a hood. I had one finished sleeve, and then I was here on my second sleeve. I was right here. And so this, again, was one of my travel knits, and so I actually got all of this, I think this entire sleeve, up until the cuff, where I had to switch needles. I got all of that done on the plane. Sleeve knitting, I feel like, is also kind of nice. I guess having the rest of it is a little bulky, but sleeve knitting is pretty nice. I guess it's kind of like sock knitting in a way. But it was all, stockinette, so just knitting in the round with some decreases where I needed to remember to do that. But it was very, very nice. I feel like it was very odd for me that this is a fingering weight yarn. And the gauge isn't terribly tight, but it is quite on the small side. And so I was expecting, because when I was working on, the body of this and the, raglan increases, everything felt pretty slow. So I was expecting the sleeves to feel pretty slow as well, but these sleeves flew by. I don't know what it is, but working on them, both sleeves felt like they went way faster. They knit up so much faster than I was expecting. So it was nice. But yeah, I finished all of this from here all the way up till here, not the cuff, on the plane, with some extra time, because that same plane ride, I worked on my sock. And then I did finish the cuff on this. Cuff details I've talked about previously, but I really, really, really like it. It's such kind of like subtle details. You don't notice it until you actually look at it or pay attention. Because when I tried on the sample at the Woolfolk booth at Flock, I actually did not notice. I didn't notice. I don't think I remember noticing the detail of this cuff. There's some 3x1 rib that happens right here. Then there's some purl rows, and then 1x1 rib with a tubular bind off. So it's very nice, very clean look. And then, of course, after I was done with that, my goal was to finish the hood. I really, really, really wanted to finish the hood. And I did. The hood felt like it took a while. Definitely involved a lot of concentrating, not a lot, but there was some shaping. I wasn't sure how this hood was going to come together, because I think that there's different ways to shape a hood, a knitted hood, and this one, I would say, is the way that this was shaped is not like any of the other hoods that I've made, although I think I've only knit two hoodies. Three hoodies, and I think I'm trying to think if any of them duplicated hood instructions, or just like the way that you do it, kind of like sock heels, what kind of construction. This was unique, and I think what makes this one different is that you make At least I'm pretty sure that this is what this is. You make the band around the front right here where you're going to put the I-cord drawstring. You make it as you go. And in this case, it's knit as a double knit edge as you're knitting the rest of it. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, a double knit is just like kind of like two pieces knit that you just like place kind of like on top of each other. And so there should be a channel in between that. And there was kind of a hole that I made right at the bottom here where I assume that's where you put the I-cord. And so that was very interesting. So I don't have to go back and sew down a flap or go back and like pick up and make that. So that was very interesting. There was an interesting, right where you look where there was a provisional cast on around the neck. And so I did have to pick that back up to work the hood, but you can see that there's like a detail right here just around that makes it look just very polished. There's like a pearl round around right here, and then there's like actually some double knit here. So it just, I don't know, it kind of just again makes it look extra sophisticated, like not just like, oh, you like picked that up and did something. Like it looks extra smooth and purposeful for how that looks. And so I do really like that. And then I'm going to hold the hood sideways like this so you can kind of see the shaping here. There were increases done in the back here to make this part a little bit, let me hold it up higher. So this is the neck right here. And so there are increases in the back here to make it a little bit bigger there. Decreases done right here. And then for this hood, right at the top here is where you do oh my gosh, I'm trying to figure out the best way to hold this. This top seam right down the middle here is where you actually connect both sides using like oh my gosh, what is it called? You graft the two sides together, so that's the clean join, you know, so everything looks seamless. I thought that was very interesting the way that was done. So there were short rows also in the hood. And so, you know, overall, and also because of the double knit band, there's some rows, not all rows, where you have to go back and kind of do multiple passes of the double knit before you go back and do the next row of the hood. And so the hood did involve concentrating, some counting, making sure like at what part I am. But in the instructions, there were actually a lot of like hood shaping part 1, hood shaping part 2. And so at least in that way, I could like keep track of like, I will, you know, do this section and then be done. And then I'll know when I go back, it's at this section versus like, you know, if you have to repeat this however so many times and you're like, oh my gosh, how many times did I repeat that? So the instructions were good in that sense. It kind of like broke it down into different sections. Each section also had different instructions, right? Like that's why they split it up into different sections. But it was a bit easier to keep track of things because of that. So that was nice. But yeah, the hood is done. It is a more closely fitting hood. I can't really like put it on for you, but it's a closer fitting hood than some of my other knit hoodies. But I don't think that's well, it's not a problem. It's just something I observed. But I think it'll be great. It's so cozy, and I would love to just be close up with this yarn because it's so soft. This yarn is so soft. It's crazy. Okay, one thing I did want to update was, you know, that I've been trying to take a bit more notice and be conscious of if there's knots in this yarn, because someone did tell me that they've noticed knots in their Woolfolk yarn in the past. I don't know what base. Maybe there's a base that has a bit more, but I think that it was for on my sleeve. Only in one skein so far that I've worked with, and I think I've worked with four or 5 skeins now. And anyway, yeah, 4 or 5. And I've only noticed in one skein. so far. There were 2 places, there were not knots in it, but I could tell that there were a join in the yarn that you could just tell. It was a little bit thicker where it was joined. You can kind of see it was like smashed together. I don't know if that description makes sense at all, but it was not a knot. It was just, you could tell where it was like joined. And there was 2 in that one skein. However, I did not, I just continued knitting. I didn't like cut it out and rejoin my yarn. I just continued knitting, and I cannot tell. I thought that I would show you where it was in the sleeve, so that you could see it, but I actually, maybe it was right here, but again, like right here. But it's just a little floof, and it does not bother me, and so I just continued knitting with it, and that was great. And yeah, I don't think that it was anything that I would think is like crazy. I know that this yarn is very expensive, and so the expectations for this yarn to be perfect is very high. But for me, the rate at which that has happened so far is not something that deters me from working with this yarn. Oh, I do want to say, just this yarn was gifted to me to make this specific hoodie and to share it with you all. And so, disclaimer on that, this yarn was gifted to me. It was free for me. So yes, but I do love this yarn, and I actually think that I would buy this exact base. I really have liked working with this base so far on this hoodie, and so I really think there's another project, a Woolfolk pattern that I have been eyeing for quite some time, and I've thought about using a different yarn that I already have for it. But because I really, really like working with this yarn, I really like how it feels, and I think I'm going to really like wearing this. I am highly, highly considering buying that yarn for myself to make this other, it's like a cardigan and tank top set. I really like it, and so I am very highly considering that for next year, because I already have so many projects I want to do this year. Actually, already for next year as well. But yeah, that's how much I've liked working with this yarn on this project. But yeah, so hood is done, both sleeves are done, and I did work a little bit on the body. I've worked this much just to finish up the ball of yarn that I was on. And so right now I'm not connected to any balls of yarn. I have 2 more balls of yarn left, and so I think that should be enough. If I hold up how much body I have of here. So next, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the I-cord. I'm going to make the I-cord for the hood next, and then reattach and work on the rest on the body. There is going to be a similar, in the way that the sleeve has the cuff kind of detail. I think there's a very similar one for the hem of the body, and so I'm excited to get to that part as well. But yeah, overall, this has been a great project. It's knitting up in some sections slower than I was expecting, and in some, like the sleeve, faster, which is very interesting. But it's a really nice, soft, squishy thing to have and to be knitting on. And yeah, so excited that this actually has some fun progress for me to show you all on that. And then let's move on to my next one. Oh, I feel like I talked about that one for a very long time. Okay, next one is my Fleur Tee, number 2, by Woolbird. The yarn I'm using for this one is Sewrella Cotton Linen Wool in the colorway Oxford. I am knitting size 4, and I'm using US 1.5 needles, which is 2.5 millimeter needles, to knit this. And this is the one that's for my mom. I already made one for myself, and I still have one more to make for my sister, and so I still have that one to make before the end of the year. But I have made good progress on this one as well. I'm going to hold it up. I am so close. I'm so close to finishing this. Let me show you where okay, I think that this was my stitch marker from last time. So I didn't even split for front and back, I don't think, from last time. I had a little bit more of the body to go. This is worked bottom up. Then I split for front and back. I finished front and back. There are short rows that's done for the shoulder shaping. Then I did the neckband, which is a 1x1 rib. I think that looks really nice. The shape of that's really nice. Then I also finished a sleeve. And so all I have left for this one is the other sleeve. And so I'm hoping I can get this second sleeve done this week and then cast on my sister's one, because I really got to get going. This one might take me, this is pushing it a little bit. I'm pushing a little bit on the deadline, but I think I can do it. Thankfully, my sister's one is going to be a smaller size, which means less stitches to work on. And so I will have, it won't take me as long, I think, hopefully, to knit that one. But I'm really pleased with how this one is turning out. Also, I did bring this one and I worked on this a little bit on my trip. I did go to Hawaii to see my family. And I was able to, I think by the time I saw my mom on the trip, I had just finished knitting the back top of the back and had that, worked flat and done, but I did not have this top front done. But I was able to bring it and at least hold it up to her and see if the sizing was looking right and if the armhole size was looking right and all of that. And so it looked fine. It looked like I was on the right track. The length was good. I did lengthen it by 1 inch from the longer length that it states in the pattern. And I think that it looked like she liked the length of what I had on this as well. So that was good. And so I'm hoping everything else on this is going to work out just as nice. And yeah, so I only have one more sleeve left to do. I should be able to do that this week. And then I can start on my third one. I'm just making these all back to back and it's kind of crazy. I won't lie. I'm getting a little bored of this stitch pattern. I went through a phase of I needed to look at the chart for the stitch pattern. It is a pointel kind of stitch pattern. So you can see, so there's kind of columns here. And then in each column, there's this repeated kind of flowery yarn over type of thing happening. It's very pretty. So in the beginning, when I made mine, I basically was I had to look at the chart and had to keep following that. So I felt pretty slow. But then once I memorized it, everything went quickly. And then for this one, I was I think it'll go by quickly because I've memorized the stitch pattern. And so it did for a little bit. And now I'm oh my gosh, it's been so much. But I think that it was the right choice to work on my mom's one second because it was the bigger size so that I can get this one over with and then go back and work on a smaller size for my sister. And so hopefully working on my sister's one will feel like it speeds through a lot faster, but I feel like I will be able to reach the goal on this one to get them done. And then we can take a group picture in them, and I think that would be really cute. So yeah, I'm going to hold it up one more time because I'm really proud of this. A lot of work went into this one, so yeah, feeling really good about this. Lots of progress on that one. Okay, next up is a project that I did not bring close to me, but I will get it. Okay, this one is my Freddie Pullover by Emily Chen. Yarn is Exploreknits Rockies DK in their colorway Fantasy. And I'm knitting size 1 and I'm using US 4 needles, 3.5 millimeter needles to knit this. And I am trying to remember right now where I left this off the last time we talked. Was it potentially the sleeve? I'm going to pretend like it was a sleeve. So I'm going to pretend like it was a sleeve, and if it wasn't, then you'll just hear me talk about it again. But I'll just show you what I have, because I know that I worked on it since the last time we've talked, because I think at least what's new is the collar, which is really exciting and finally makes it look like a knitted sweater. But I have a finished sleeve, so even if I've talked about it before, I will just say it again. I do have a finished sleeve. I'm not sure if maybe this was my stitch marker. I have to look back. Stitch marker for, actually maybe this was my stitch marker for where I did my last decrease, and then the rest I had to keep going until it was the right length. These sleeves were a bit, they look a little short. Like if I hold it out like this, it looks kind of short, I think, but maybe it's because it's blocking this is going to be, I think, a major transformation just because of the stitch pattern. There is a cable pattern that happens at the top of the sleeve, and the rest is kind of like a different sized rib. There's like a maybe 6, a 3, and 2 maybe rib going on, and so it does kind of like cinch in a bit. Cuff is a 2x2 rib. But I did start on the second sleeve. I didn't get as much done on the second sleeve as I thought I would. But what I really, really wanted to get done was the collar on this. So I will hold it up. And it looks really, really nice. It is a double knit collar. I will hold it up like this. Double knit collar. And this did feel like it took forever for some reason. Even though it is a DK weight. Yarn double knit just always feels like it takes forever. But I feel like the resulting knit is just so nice. Seamless, clean. So double knit collar. And then there's a 2x2 rib, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to call this. I mean, it's kind of part of the neckband, I guess you could call it, V-neck. And then the nice detail here is that it does overlap right at the front here. So you do kind of sew them down one in front of the other. So it's really nice like that. And I really like it. This was at the time that I was working on it. I mean, I'm still working on it a little bit, but it's a nice like DK weight project to be knitting on amongst all of my fingering weight projects. And so this was pretty nice, even though there's a lot of, I have to look at charts. Well, I've also kind of memorized this one in a way, but since it's been some time, I did not take this on my trip to work on it. So I did not, the last time I worked on this was probably a little over a week ago. So I'll have to refresh my memory on the chart, but I'm like close-ish. I want to say maybe I'm halfway done with this one. This is on my make 9 for this year, and so I would love to finish this before the end of the year, but I have one more thing on my make 9, and so I want to finish this. I want to finish this like soon. Sometime mid-November would be great so that I can start on my pressed flower shawl, because that's the last thing on my make 9. And I don't know how long that's going to take me to make. But I have other things that I'm just going to deal with it as it goes. Day by day, I'm going to see what I want to work on. But good progress. I think good progress on this so far. Okay, so that was my Freddie pullover. Next, I actually worked a little bit on my mitered corner blanket. This was a pattern by Purl Soho. That's the pattern I'm following, or the instructions I'm following. I think it's also free on the Purl Soho website, so that's why I'm using it. There's other patterns that are very similar to it that you can use as well. But that is the one that I'm mainly following. I didn't work on it for a while. I had a lot of other projects to do, and this one was not a priority, but I was feeling like working on it for a little bit, and so I did. I just added a few more squares. Here's what I have so far. You probably don't remember where I was last time, but I think I added 4 squares. So I added 1, 2, 3, and 4. This lonely green one up here. So here's the total of my blanket. This blanket's not getting done. I know when I cast this on, I was like, maybe I can finish this blanket this year. Nope, it's not happening. It's just not happening this year. But it's kind of a nice one to just have long-term project. Of course, there's other blankets I want to knit as well. But this is great because I'm just using leftover yarn from other projects, smaller amounts of yarn I just have lying around that's still really pretty yarn that I want to be used as much as possible into a thing, and so I do think this is a great way to use up those smaller bits. Again, I think that, so I am using all, for each of the squares, I'm holding a fingering weight yarn double, so either 2 strands of the same yarn or one of each of a different color. So it's been fun kind of mixing and matching in that way too. But what's really nice is because the squares are pretty small, if you have like smaller leftover yarn, each square uses a total of around 6 grams of yarn. And so if you even have 3 grams of yarn, if you just combine it with another one, then you could end up finishing up a square with this. So it's been really nice for that. Using up knitting with some of the yarn that I haven't seen or used in a while as well, and so it's nice to kind of like see those again. And I'm not being super picky with the colors and where they go, but I am trying to make sure I don't put like all of the same color next to each other, or all dark next to each other, all light next to each other. And I think it's been a good mix so far, I think, of what I have. So yeah, it's been good. It was nice to pick this one back up. Unsure if I will be working on it every week still, or, in my mind, I was like at least a square every week, but that has not happened. So I'm just gonna let it happen as it happens. But yeah, I did bring it back for a little bit to show it to you. I am using US 6 needles for that, 4.0 millimeter needles to knit that. And I'm following the Purl Soho instructions for size small. Okay, moving on to my one new cast on. I cast this on with my friend Emily, who also has a podcast on YouTube. I'm sure you probably already follow her because her podcasts are great. But we were talking about actually, how did this come up? Anyway, we decided to cast on the Moon Set Polo pattern by Ozetta on our knit weekend away, which was a couple weekends ago. A few weekends ago? I forget. But during our knit weekend away, we just, us and our other knit friends in the area who were available, we got an Airbnb out on Camino Island and stayed over for just a weekend, and it was really fun. I think this is the 3rd year that we've done it, and it's been really fun, and I look forward to it every year. But me and Emily both cast on this during that weekend, and I will hold up what I have. Before I hold it up, so Moonset Polo by Ozetta. Yarn I am using is, and I also have the skein, so you can see this, because I'm combining yarn. I'm using Explore Knits Rockies DK in the colorway Lavandula. This really light variegated, like blue purple with some like green teal-ish speckles lightly in it. And I am holding it with holding the Sari double. This is Big Little Yarn Co. Sari Silk Lace in the colorway Nudie Kabe. And so this is a light blue to kind of like bright blue with some pink or peachy colors in there. And then I'm holding this double. So I am working this with 3 strands, 1 of DK and 2 of Sari. I'm holding them together, and I got this. So, did I say I'm knitting size extra small, and I'm using US 9 needles, which is 5.5 millimeter needles. They feel like large needles, especially moving from all of my fingering weight projects to this. It feels crazy. But here's what I have so far. No, it is not even quite yet. But I did finish the top of the back. This is work top down. There's the back. I did finish the front left. And you can start to see the, not the button band, but the V-neck neck band here, which is worked at the same time. And then I am just working the right side right now. I think I just maybe finished. Oh gosh, I need Oh, no, I just cast on extra stitches to start that neckband right there. So that's where I'm at right now on this. And I think I worked all the way until I used up my first skein of the Sari. So this is all I have of the first skein of Sari. So this got me this far so far. I still have a little bit of my DK skein. I'm maybe slightly concerned I'm going to run out of yarn, but also it's fine. It is fine. It's fine. But yeah, so that's what I have so far. Me and Emily's are going to look and feel so different. Emily's one's going to be a lot more structured because of the yarn that she's using. And although I think it's going to be really great, honestly, when I was thinking, I was trying to figure out what yarn I wanted to use for this. And I do wish I had more of a structured yarn. And by structured, I just mean maybe a little more rustic, something that'll hold its shape a bit more. I feel like that would be perfect for the Moonset Polo. However, mine is using a superwash yarn and Sari, and so this is going to be really soft and drapey, and so we'll see how that turns out. I think what is funny is I feel like this, when I saw this Moonset Polo, when the pattern came out, I was like, oh, I really want to make that, but I'm like, I'm also making something very similar, which is the Freddie Pullover. The Freddie Pullover has, they're very different because the Freddie Pullover has the cabled patterns. It's not just like plain stockinette, but it does have that double knit collar. This one also has a double knit collar. They're V-necks, and so kind of like similar V-neck pullover with a double knit collar style. But it's just funny that I'm working on two things in kind of like similar type of pullover. But it's fine because it's really cute. Also, I'm finally using some yarn that I've had in my stash for quite some time. And that yarn had, actually both of these, I've had previous ideas on what to use, but it never never had the chance to do it, never had the time. So it's just been sitting in my stash. And so it's really great to finally have these come out and be used and knit with. I feel like by itself, when you look at both of them, the color combo maybe doesn't seem like all that great, but I feel like the blues in them really tie them together, and they don't look, I don't think it looks crazy knit up together. I actually really like it because I think for me, as much as I like this color, this was a bit of an impulse yarn purchase for me because this was at I think it was the first Explore Knits pop-up they did on at La Mercerie on Bainbridge Island. And if I remember correctly, we already bought the yarn from the pop-up. We went to eat lunch, and when we came back, there was some yarn left over, and there was a sweater quantity of this available. And I was like, I'll take it since it's there. But there's no pink in it, and so it was, I love pink. Not that I don't always knit with pink. And actually, there's a good portion of the yarn that I have that's not pink. But yeah, so this wasn't, it was a bit of an impulse purchase for me. So I couldn't quite think of what I wanted to make with this. And then this one, I had enough of it to do like a cumulus blouse. I went through a phase, and who knows, maybe I'm still kind of in that phase. I think less so now though, where I bought so much Sari, where I was like, I will buy a sweater quantity of Sari, and if I can't figure out what to use it for, it'll become a cumulus blouse. And but it just never happened. I didn't know what to do with it, and so I'm hoping, I was hoping that the pairing of this would be great, because this pattern also, I think, is a worsted weight yarn for the pattern. And I was like, I don't have, actually, let me check. I knew I didn't have that weight of yarn if I wanted to just do like one strand of it to make the polo, and so I knew I would have to combine yarn. Worsted weight, I just checked. And anyway, so I was looking through, and I was like, I think if I combine these, I would have enough yardage, at least close. I'd have close. Anyway, that was a long story, but it did take me a bit to figure out what yarn I was going to use for this. But I'm very happy with this choice. Also, yes, I was going to say, because now that there is some pink bits in the Sari, and I'm holding it with this, the whole garment will have little pink bits in it versus just this by itself with no pink. which again, no pink is fine. But I like that I can get some pink in there, combining with the Sari. Okay. And that's it for the yarn, the knitting projects. I do have a spin project that I have been working on. This one I did start on our knit weekend away a couple weekends ago. And, yeah, so this is fun. This is also like a friend spin. So, there's, a few of us, at least a few of us, is there 4 of us, who are, doing, this is our Christmas sock spin. I did this last year, with I think the same group of friends. So that was fun. And yeah, the fiber we chose this year is Yarn Jam. Shaniko, for me, I think we chose different, fiber bases. For me, I chose a Shaniko silk base, because they're going to be for socks. And so I thought silk would be great to have for this one. And I love Shaniko. And the colorway that we all chose is Very, Very Merry. I will hold up the 2 bobbins that I have so far. I am planning on doing a 3-ply fractal for this, and so I split up my fiber lengthwise into 2, 4, 6. I believe that is how I did it. So we'll see how that comes out. I finished 2 of them, and so I just have one more third of the fiber to spin. And I'm trying to spin this really, really thin, and so these felt like it took me quite a while. I think this one I finished during our knit weekend, in like one, maybe half a day, I don't know, or part of the night. And I was surprised that I did all of that. This one, I mean, it looks like there's a bit more fiber in this. I did not weigh out the fiber. I just like eyeballed it. And so the sections are probably not equal, but this one I think had a bit more fiber. So it took me a bit longer, and I'm spinning a lot thinner than my normal what I want to spin, and so it just feels like it's taking a really long time. But I'm almost there. I want to get this done pretty soon so that I can start some other spin projects before the end of the year as well. But I also have so much things in it. And so actually, we'll see how much more spinning I can do. But I definitely want to get these done. But I'm like 2/3 of the way there with the singles, and then I have to ply it. But it's been a long time since I've done a 3-ply. And so this should be pretty fun for me to ply up, I think. Yeah. As you can maybe tell, there's only kind of like 2 main colors in this braid. And so that's why I wanted to split it up into kind of smaller chunks. I know the 2 section of one of the plies is those colors are going to be, which I think was this one, the color change length is going to be really, really long, but I'm hoping all of the shorter ones will kind of like make up for that, and so that it'll still look pretty blended and color changey throughout the socks, because we're planning on casting these on, finishing the spin and then casting on for socks on Christmas Eve. I think that's what we did last year. But yeah, I just wanted to show you I finally have another spin. This was the spin I was waiting. I wasn't spinning for a little bit because I knew that we were going to start, at least some of us were going to start this spin on knit weekend, and I wanted to do that, and so I needed my bobbins to be empty to start that. But yeah, so that one's been really fun to do so far. It's just taking a bit longer than my normal spins because I'm trying to spin really thin. So we'll see if I'm successful in getting a fingering weight 3-ply out of that, but I might end up with a sport weight. But that's fine. And so yeah, so that's it for the spinning. And then I do have a quick acquisition to show you all. I did get in the mail my fiber from the Euro fiber from La Mercerie. This is for the month of November. And so she did post this colorway on Instagram already, and probably on through email too. But if you haven't seen it yet, and you don't want to be spoiled by it, just look away for a little bit. I'm going to hold up the fiber and talk about it for a little bit. This for November, the fiber is from Hello Lavender, which it was very exciting to see. I do love and bought some of her fiber in the past. And the colorway is just La Mercerie Euro Fiber November, but it is a 100% Rambouillet fiber. Oh, I will hold it up. 21.5 microns, and it's about 4-ounce braid. And it's very like dark and moody. And I think that that's pretty fun for November. It's matching the cloudiness that's outside my window right now. So that's nice. But yeah, it's going to be really nice. Rambly is always great to spin. I think it is one of my favorite fibers to spin, and so that's always really great. Now that we're nearing the end, this is the second to last fiber for the year of fiber for this year. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with all of them. I might like lay them all out and just see if there's some inspiration comes to me on what I want to do. I might just spin them all individually next year, maybe like one per month, as it was given to us this year. But we'll see. It's all in my brain for some ideas potentially for next year's goals and plans and all of that. So that's my one acquisition, and I think that that's it. I know part of me feels like that was a lot to talk about, but another part of me feels like I'm forgetting stuff. I guess I could talk a little bit about where I was and what I was doing in the past couple weeks that I didn't film. We did have a knit weekend away with my friends friends in Seattle that we went to rented an Airbnb for a weekend on Camino Island, and it was really nice. It was my first time being there, and so that was pretty fun. It's like pretty relatively close to where we were. Like the drive wasn't too long. There was traffic going there, but there was no traffic coming back, and so it felt surprisingly short of a distance, or just the ride was a lot shorter coming back. But it was really nice. I feel like we've always gotten, trying to think, I think for our knit weekends away near the end of the year, we have gotten places that are like near the water, and so I'm always excited to like take our finished object pictures. Some of us like to do this, and some of us choose not to, but I love taking finished object pictures with my friends because they always know the best angles to take pictures, and how to pose ideas, and with the background and like props potentially. It's always really fun, and so I do appreciate that we get to do that during that weekend. This one was a little bit of a slightly, was not sure if it was going to happen because it was pouring rain. We usually, I think, have taken pictures we usually get there on Friday, stay Friday night, and then stay Saturday. So Saturday's like the full day we have, and then we have to leave on Sunday morning. And so we usually take pictures on Saturday, but it was pouring rain, and so we're like, not. Actually, I did tell them, I was like, or we could take pictures in the pouring rain and just have like really crazy faces happening because it's just like rain and wind. And I was like, we should just post our pictures like that and like don't even mention that anything about the fact that we look like we're, in a whole bunch of rain. But I think we're like, oh, that would be so funny, but none of us actually want to do that. But luckily on Sunday morning, it was also still a little drizzly, and so I was like, it's gonna suck. I brought some things. Last year, I think I brought way too many finished objects to take pictures of, and I felt bad after for making my friends take pictures of me. So this year I tried to be a little more chill about it. I didn't bring as many things, but I did. I still have finished object pictures to catch up on, and so I did a little bit for this trip. But it was a little drizzly, and then we were able to drink. I think I have a coffee. Maybe I didn't have a coffee, but we were just like, we're just gonna do it really quickly right now before we have to like pack up and leave. And I think we timed it so perfectly. It was not raining during this section of time where we took pictures, and it was really nice. And once we were like almost done, we felt some little droplets come down, and I was like, perfect timing, last pictures, and then we'll go in. And I think we all got pictures of the things we brought to take pictures of. So that was really nice. I'm planning on posting those sometime soon, before the end of the year at least. But yeah, that was a great time. I always have a great time with my friends. We all have the same, chill vibes that we want when we have our knit weekends away. We just want to sit and knit basically. And I like it. We watched some really fun, cute movies, nostalgic movies for us. We started off strong with K-pop Demon Hunters. Yes, I love that. We also watched Twilight. It's been so long since I've watched it, and I told myself I wanted to rewatch it sometime, because I really don't think I've watched it since it came out in movie theaters. Yeah, it was a different experience watching it this time around, but that was fun. It's fun watching it with friends. We want to watch a Studio Ghibli movie, and we watched Kiki's Delivery Service, which is one of my favorites. I actually love a lot of Studio Ghibli. My other favorites is Howl's Moving Castle and, of course, Spirited Away. But we were like, I think Emily hasn't seen a Studio Ghibli. I think she said she tried to watch Spirited Away once, and it was too weird. So we're like, let's start with Kiki's Delivery Service, because I think it, story-wise, pretty much makes sense. There's nothing super crazy going on. And it's very, wholesome. I feel like it's a wholesome, cute little show. And so we watched that. And, we watched a whole bunch of other movies as well. Yeah, so that was a good time. Good time hanging with friends and having the whole weekend to do it. The weekend always feels short, though. It always feels too short, but it is a good weekend with friends. So it's really nice. And we get to see what everyone's working on. We get to touch and feel everyone's knits, which is really great, and encourage everyone to work on their knits. Actually, when I was trying to figure out what to wear for today's video, maybe next week I will wear it though. I brought out my big cozy cardi, because our friend Sylvan, was working on hers, and she's been working on it since, I think we both cast ours on at a very similar time. And I finished mine, I think it was probably in 2023, but she brought hers back out to work a little bit more on, and so it reminded me. I was like, oh, I haven't worn my big cozy cardi in a while. Maybe I'll wear it on today's video, but the sweater felt a bit more right to me, but maybe I'll wear the big cozy cardi next week's video. And yeah, I brought, of course, as always, way too many projects for the trip, but I did work on little bits here and there. Yeah, so that was a good weekend. And then the weekend after that, I did fly to Hawaii, which, if you don't know, because you're a new viewer here, I'm originally born and raised in Hawaii, and moved up here for college and work and stuff. But I went back to Hawaii because I had a cousin who was getting married, and so I went to her wedding, and it was really nice. Got to hang out with my family and friends, and also I brought some of my, now that it's cold weather, and it's not really the time for wearing my shorter sleeved knitwear, but I still have some of those to take finished object pictures of. I brought it to Hawaii with me so that I could take pictures of it there, because the weather matches way more. It is not cold there. It is hot there. And so I was like, yes, that's where it would be more comfortable to take finished object pictures of, in my short sleeve knitwear. So I got some pictures of that as well. Some of that. So yeah, it was nice. I felt like I was productive. Also during that trip, as far as, it was a nice break. I spent a lot of that time, knitting as well. And so as you could see, I kept saying, the trip that I spent a lot of, finish, the hood on my hoodie and finish my Mabel sweater. That was all in my trip to Hawaii. So yeah, lots of progress done there, which was really great. And it was a good time. Good to see family. It's been a little bit. Felt like it's been some time. Ate a lot of good food. I love eating all the good food that I miss back in Hawaii. So yeah, so it was a good time. I got to celebrate my family and, my cousin's wedding, and so that was really nice. I cried so hard at this wedding. Yeah, happy tears, of course. But yeah, it was a great time. But yeah, I'm glad to be back home here, kind of trying to get back into the swing of things and the routine of things. And so I need to do chores still. I have a lot of laundry to do because of all of the traveling and stuff. All the other cleaning chores as well. And just putting things back where I want. Also just cleaning things up. There's kind of a lot I need to do. But yeah, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Oh, now that, I feel like, I don't usually talk about, TV shows that I watch. I know I mentioned Only Murders in the Building, partly because it is inspiration for some of my knitwear that I, am knitting, and so I do mention it. But I did want to also talk about K-pop Demon Hunters a lot, because that is my latest obsession. And yes, it has been a while. Has it been a few months since it's come out, and I am still obsessed with it. I still watch it regularly. And I think Red Door Fiber is gonna come out with a K-pop Demon Hunters pre-order for yarn and fiber. So I'm keeping my eye out on that as well. So I'm still obsessed with K-pop Demon Hunters, as well as the singers in that movie. If you follow them as well, you'll know EJ, who is the singer voice for Rumi. She came out with a single very recently, and I listened to it, and I love it. I also, when I listened to it, I immediately was like, I want to skate to this for my next skating program, whenever that is. I love it, and I envision it. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I love that. But okay, I did want to share that when I was home, or when I was back in Hawaii, and I was talking to my dad, because I talk to my dad about like TV shows, movies, and series that we watch, because we just share what we watch, and I'll watch his recommendations, he'll watch my recommendations. And one of the things he recommended, and I was kind of skeptical, was he started watching some anime, and I was like, I'm not all that interested, but he was like, just give it a try, just put it on the TV. And so there is this, I think you can watch it on different streaming services, but on Netflix, that's how I've watched it. There is this anime called The Apothecary Diaries, and it is originally in Japanese. However, I did watch it with the English dubs, because for me, part of the reason why I don't really watch like Korean dramas anymore, and have not been interested in animes and anything like that, is because I feel like I need to watch it in the original language. And I've seen some with the English dub, and it's like horrible, right? But just because, the only reason why it's horrible for some of them is because some of them, the voice acting is really bad in English. Like, that's what really gets me. But actually what I think it is, if it's animated, I feel like it's easier to have the English dub, because, the mouth, you can't really tell that it's not doing the exact English, versus if it's a real person, you can tell that that's not actually them speaking, But I do feel like in the animated, even like Studio Ghibli, I will watch Japanese and English dub, because the English dub is pretty good. Like, it's actually really good. The voice acting is great in those, and so I'm happy to watch Studio Ghibli in English dub as well. Now this is boring. This is not knitting related at all. But lately, so I've watched, and the reason why I want to watch this anime and feel fine watching this anime in English dub too is it's good, but also because I need to knit. I need to knit and watch shows. I can't just like sit there and watch a show. And so it's really hard to read subtitles and knit at the same time. And so that's where all of that's coming from. But anyway, so I'm watching The Apothecary Diaries, and I think it's fantastic. I think the story is really great. It's like I think the story actually takes place like in like older China, but it is a Japanese anime. But there's this girl who is an apothecary, and she like solves these like mysteries, these like murders or other mysteries. She's very into like poison, and so if there's someone got poisoned, she like figures out what happens. I think it's really interesting. I also think it's really funny. There's like, I don't think I've ever really watched a true anime, and so again, I was skeptical, but I think that this story is really great. You do have to kind of pay attention though. It's like kind of fast. If you miss something and it comes back in a later episode, you're like, wait, what happened? And so you do have to kind of pay attention. to the story, but there's like a lot that's kind of like being woven into the story and what's happening and things that like connect. And there's funny parts to it. So it's like funny. Yeah. And the animation style is really cute too. Like, you know, it's the normal, you know, they have like the way of animating, but they also during like certain sections or like feelings of like the characters, they like go into this little kind of like chibi, I think they call it, like animation style of the characters where they look really small and cute and they do something or they have an expression. So that's been, honestly for me, been pretty fun to watch. I realized though, I think there's only 2 seasons and there's going to be a 3rd season, but season 2 is not on Netflix and I don't know how to watch it. And so that's upsetting to me. I need to figure out how to watch season 2 because I really like this show. But anyway, I just wanted to share it with you because maybe do any of you also watch it or have watched it or have recommendations? I am open. So yeah, that's just a little update on me. It's not really quite knitting related, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. It's really good to be back. I might have been a little more chatty in this one, just because I'm excited to be back and I have a lot of updates. And I'm also trying to like catch up. I think it's been 3 weeks of, it was 2 weekends of missed episodes, but 3 weeks worth of like knitting content. And, you know, because of the travel and stuff, there were some weeks where I didn't really knit that much and some where I knit a lot. And so I think it kind of balanced out, but I hope you enjoyed today's update. Happy November. I can't believe it's November. We have 2 more months of the year left. Oh, one more non-knitting related update. And I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I love the Animal Crossing game by Nintendo. And if you do too, did you see that there is a free update for Animal Crossing coming in January? Yeah, it looks really great. I'm so excited for it. So it's a lot of exciting things. I feel like right now there's a lot of exciting things going to happen to look forward to. Things I'm enjoying right now, knitting related and also not knitting related. So everything's feeling really great. I'm feeling really great. But yeah, with that, thank you so much for watching. I know it's a bit rambly, but thank you for staying all the way to the end if you did. Let me know in the comments down below what you've been working on while listening or watching the podcast. I'd love to know. And yeah, I will talk to you in next week's video. Bye!